Hey guys, it's Clay from Clear Critique. With the new film Kate now on Netflix, I want to talk about female assassin movies. It's a genre that Hollywood has been experimenting with pretty consistently over the past couple decades, and with some exceptions, it's not going so well. Most excel at one aspect and fail at another, and since this is a type of film I truly want to see done well, I thought I'd discuss the pitfalls it can avoid. Filmmakers' casting process for this genre can, at best, be described as perplexing. In general, these films have a certain, lithe physique in mind for the protagonists. With such small frames, the lead characters don't have the physical weight to throw around in a brawl. The smarter movies would work around this in creative ways, focusing on stealth, speed, and agility. This is practically an untapped market, as even male-driven assassin movies often devolve into poorly filmed shootouts and explosions. Here, a different body type can be the impetus to changing up the set pieces. The reason Zoe Saldana in Colombiana is so well cast, other than her acting talent, is that her skinniness and grace are assets to the plot. The character spends half her time slipping into air ducts and under cars. Her eliminations depend on the element of surprise. And in sequences like the jail hit, she's basically a ninja. When she's caught in a fistfight, she has to utilize props and her own nimbleness, and even then, she gets hurt a lot. Now, there is a wealth of talented, trained women who could engage in direct on-screen combat, and no one would have a fleeting doubt. Think about Gina Carano, real MMA fighter who was cast in Haywire, and as a result, which I will get into more later, the film was able to focus on visceral fighting in a believable way. And even ignoring physical training, an actress can bring with her a presence, stature, and intimidation, the implication of experience. But many of these movies are crafting the combat around knocking out and tossing 200-pound henchmen, yet are casting 100-pound actresses who look like they could be knocked off balance by an oscillating fan. Jessica Chastain is a good actress, and the dialogue doesn't help, but I can't buy her for an instant in the film Ava. Karen Gillan looks like she wandered off the set of a sitcom. Producers want the slim, borderline anemic look, they want the slitted red dress, but also want their leads to knock out wrestlers with one punch. It doesn't work. And the fact is that the filmmakers know it doesn't work because they use every cheap trick in the book to hide it. The fight choreography and especially editing are not delivering on the action we're paying for. It's obvious these films are cut in a way to conceal the fact that the hits are badly faked, and no one really knows what they're doing. And trust me, this happens in much of modern action, but we're sticking with this genre today. Other times the editing doesn't appear to be engineered to cover up bad choreography, but is there to artificially create a frantic pace. Going back to Colombiana, Zoe Saldana's character is an expert in stealth and mobility, but struggles in the fight scene during the climax. This is logical and could be nail-biting, but the editing is choppier than the credit card used to cut the lines of the cocaine used to edit the damn movie. This is spastic and confusing. Also, people think this kind of editing is cool, and it can be in small doses, but during a pivotal fight scene, it's like dousing a fire, and in smaller scenes with less intense choreography, it's laughably unnecessary. Back to Haywire, while Carano's acting was stiff for some, although for the most part I thought she was fine, she more than delivered on the combat. The hits felt painful, every fight was brutal and unforgiving, and thanks to both her training, the choreography, and direction, we aren't cheated out of the action. It's all there, without unnecessary cuts or camera shakes. This isn't just entertainment, but garners a deeper emotional response. We fear for her safety, and we hate the opponent for his savagery. And just as an aside, both Carano and Fassbender were very dedicated to the fight scenes, and when Fassbender slammed her head into a wall harder than she expected, instead of throwing the vase and missing as she was supposed to, her gut reaction was to break it on his face. That genuine energy is clear as day when the action is, for lack of a better word, true. A writer crafts an action story that starts with a bang, but then realizes that we don't know much about the character yet. The smart thing to do is to have us discover who they are over the course of the film, through small conversations, or better yet, through their actions. Atomic Blonde is one of the worst examples, cutting back repeatedly to drab, boring scenes to explain details we could have learned in the main story. And then films like Anna don't use salt flashbacks or atomic alternates, but rapidly jump through time, skipping past important relationships and making us feel like we sat on the remote. Structure aside, these movies, and action films as a whole, often suffer from being too dense in the plot. Keep in mind that complicated does not guarantee cleverness. Overabundance of characters, motivations, and double crosses is a great way to lose a viewer's interest, and the more you add, the more loose ends you have to tie up in the third act. It's a tricky balance, and the best advice I could offer for writing these kinds of stories is to not drift from the protagonist too much. And if you do, make it worth it. What I want, as a film fanatic, is for these films to not just be good, but to be good on their own. And unfortunately, the producers, and screenwriters, they get the blame too, feel the need to constantly bring up men as a piñata. I'm not offended or anything, it's just lame.
Like that person in a nightmare. Take no shit from no dudes.
Is literal perfection.
It will be. When it fits a woman.
They're scary.
Do they assume men won't watch these films? Maybe more will if you'd market them correctly. Maybe men don't want to see a character whose coolness seems to be established purely on being better than men, being better than everyone. All the while, stuntmen are taking dives that would make a soccer player blush. Maybe these films would have more universal appeal if the casting fit the combat, and if they stopped trying to be so cool with editing that's too fast or pointlessly slow. Nothing reeks worse than desperation, and many of these films stink of it, from the marketing to the dialogue to the choices in music.
Oh.
Who are you?
As I've said before, some of these films are great, others swing and occasionally hit, and others miss so hard they hit themselves. It's a genre I love to see when it's done with skill and subtlety, with imagination and intelligence, but most of all, with the confidence that it did its job without having to say so. Avoiding these problems I mentioned should help immensely with any female assassin film. But at the end of the day, if you're crafting a savvy, hardworking character, maybe you should be a little more savvy and hardworking too. So what female assassin movies do you enjoy? Did you see the film Kate on Netflix? Can't wait to see the comment section on this one. If you liked the video, please subscribe to support the channel and check out some of my other film discussions as well. Thanks for watching.